One, thanks for tuning into today's video. Just going to have a quick look at where December is going today, because it looks like it's going to be a very, very mild month. Exceptionally mild month is possible. So have a look at the Central England temperature in a moment, and then see how that compares to some past years. And then we'll just have a look at some of the things like the North Atlantic Oscillation, see if there's any sign of a change. To be honest, it's a job to come up with things to talk about just at the moment, because the pattern is not changing. We're well and truly stuck in a westerly sort of zonal setup. And it will be bringing heavy rain and gales across the country quite often, actually, during the coming week or two. Before I get on with that, though, I just want to talk about the advertising of this video. Ads on my pages at gazworldbiz.com. If you hit play on the video ad, you'll be supporting gazworldbiz.com. Thanks very much for doing that. Gaz Shop is open, so if you want to buy any Christmas presents at Amazon between now and Christmas, you've still got time. Click through the Amazon banners in Gaz Shop. It'll take you through to Amazon. You can do your shopping there as normal. At the same time, Gazworld will get a royalty fee on anything that you purchase, and thanks very much for doing that. So let's have a look at the Central England temperature from Hadley at the UK Met Office. This is December, just down here at the bottom. We've got the full year's worth of the Central England temperatures, of course, and we had a very cold start to the year and a much warmer second half of the year. It's been quite remarkable, actually, how the year has panned out, because, as I say, the first half was actually very mild. It was actually very cold. We saw that ferociously cold March, but there's also a cold January, cold February, so it really was quite a cold start to the year, one of the coldest first halves to the year for a long time, with all months from January through to June returning negative sort of CET anomalies. And of course the peak was in March, where we was 3 degrees below average, with the coldest March since either 1962 or 1883, I think, depending on which day set you take. Then in the second half of the year became much warmer. Very hot July, of course, with a central temperature of 18.3. That's the hottest since 2006, 2 degrees above average. August very warm as well. September was near normal. October very warm again, 12.5, 1.9 degrees above average. November was a little bit colder at 6.2, so it has been a consistently warm 6 months. We have had some cooler months in there as well, but what's happened is that the months that have been warmer than average, such as July, August and October, were very warm. They was well above average, and we're going to be able to add December to that as well, because here is where we currently lie with December. It's currently at 6.8 in the Central England region. That is 1.8 degrees above average. That's provisional to the 13th of December. Now, I think that's a little bit overdone. I think there'll probably be a bit of a correction at the end of the month, and we'll take 2.3 of a degree off that. But even with that, it's still very warm. It's a central temperature in December that's in the sixes. Is a very mild month, really, and with no sign of a change in the pattern, we can expect this to continue. In fact, it could actually tick up a little bit more. We may have a bit of an increase overall in the second half of the month, because there's no sign of the pattern really breaking, and the westerlies are going to be very dominant. So when was the last time we had a very warm December, or a very mild December? Well, we've had a few in the last few years. 2011 came in at 6.0. I think we're going to beat that. 2006 came in at 6.5. We may be on a par with that at the end of the month, or maybe even a little bit above it. And also here we've got 1994 at 6.4. That was a very mild one. Again, I think we may beat that. So we're going further and further back now, and we get to 1988, which had a central temperature of 7.5. That was an exceptionally mild December 1988, and I think we're probably not going to beat that. I don't think we're going to beat 1988. So chances are this December is going to be the mildest since 1988, but we won't beat 1988, I don't think. Also, quite interestingly, I think there's a good chance that we're going to come in warmer than November. Now, that doesn't happen very often, to get December warmer than November. So the last time that happened very quickly was in the year 1993. This one just here we had a November centering temperature of 4.6. That was quite cold. The last time we had a really cold November, actually. And then December 1993 comes in at 5.5. So that was the last time we had a December that was warmer than November. That's quite unusual. That happened. I think there's a good chance that could happen as well this year, because the November centering temperature was not really cold, was a little bit below average at 6.2, and I think there's a reasonable chance, unless something happens in the final week of the month, but there's not really much sign of it at the moment, there's a reasonable chance that we could beat November 19, could beat November 2013 and have December warmer than November for the first time since 1993. So that's how the stats are stacking up. The warmest December since 1988 looks quite probable, and December coming out warmer than November for the first time since 1993. Let's have a look at the Arctic Oscillation, see if there's any sign of a change in the pattern for the rest of the month. Remember, the Arctic Oscillation is an index that is reflecting the weather. It's not driving anything. It's reflecting the state of the atmosphere in the Arctic. When the Arctic Oscillation is positive, it's telling us that we've got lots of low pressure in the Arctic, and the cold air is really bottled up in the Arctic with strong zonal westerlies through the mid-latitudes. When the Arctic Oscillation is negative, it's the reverse. So we've got blocking in the Arctic that's pushing the cold air down into the mid-latitudes, and the westerlies are weaker. Well, we can see on the observed and forecast chart, the black line here is where we've been going back to September. The red line is where we forecast to go. You can see from the red line that we forecast to stay very positive with the Arctic Oscillation. We're currently positive, and we're forecast to stay positive certainly for the rest of December. There's no real indication there of the Arctic Oscillation going negative for the rest of this month. So that's telling us that we're going to keep the low pressure bottled up in the Arctic. We're going to keep the cold air bottled up in the Arctic as well, and we're going to continue really to see those westerlies strong through mid-latitudes, bringing mild Atlantic-driven weather to the United Kingdom. The North Atlantic Oscillation is the same idea. It's not a driver of anything. It's an index that reflects the state of the atmosphere in the North Atlantic. Again, when the North Atlantic Oscillation is positive, it's telling us that we've got strong westerly winds, we've got low pressure around Iceland, high pressure through the Azores. When the North Atlantic Oscillation is negative, it's the reverse. So we've got blocking around Iceland, and we've got low pressure going through the Atlantic, through the Azores into Europe. And again, no sign of any real change in this. We're a little bit positive with the North Atlantic Oscillation at the moment, and we're forecast to go even more positive through the rest of December. These red lines are really ticking up, going into positive territory. Not as positive as the North, not as positive as the Arctic Oscillation. Even so, we are forecast to be positive for the rest of December with the North Atlantic Oscillation. So with both of these signals, indexes in positive territory, it's telling us we're likely to see a continuation of the pattern that we've had through December so far, which is, well, westerly winds, southwesterly winds, and low pressure, probably increasingly driving in off the Atlantic, bringing wet and windy conditions. GFS temperature ensembles show that we've got a classic zonal synwave coming up. We're currently in a very warm sector of air. We're going to go colder in the next few days, very briefly. Then we'll get a bit of a tick up to go warmer, then colder, then warmer, then colder, and so on through the ensemble. And that's as we're bringing these different air masses in off the Atlantic. But what you need to keep in mind is that overall, when you balance it all out, because it's winter, it comes out above average, because even in those colder sectors, because it's windy, because we're often driving through showers or longer spells of rain, it means that the temperatures hold up, particularly at night, and we don't get the frost that you would expect if it was below average, because, as I said, we're driving the wind in off the Atlantic, which keeps the temperatures up, particularly at night. So once you balance it all out, despite the fact that it looks like it's warmer, colder, when you balance it all out, actually, it does come out above average in winter. It's different in the other seasons, of course. So yeah, we've got a zonal sort of temperature wave there going on for the rest of December, although we do lose a little bit towards the end of the ensemble. If anything, the ensemble normals do perhaps tick down a little bit as we get through towards the end of the year, and lots of precipitation spikes as well. Going to be heavy rain coming through. Really does look like a very, very wet spell could be on the way. And finally, having a look at the temperature anomalies for the next week, you'll not be surprised to see that we're coming out above average, as I say, despite the warmer, colder sort of cine wave. When she balances it all out, it does turn out to be warmer than average in winter, and that is precisely what we see from the temperature anomalies for 15th to 22nd of December, showing that not only is the British Isles in those red colours, virtually the whole of Europe is as well, stretching from Britain and Ireland through towards Russia. So we're taking those westerlies right the way through the continent and taking them up into parts of Russia as well. So there's no sign of an end to the Atlantic driven weather. I think for the rest of December we can basically say that we're going to be in for a very Atlantic driven December. It could well turn out to be the mildest December since 1988. It could well turn out that we're going to have the first warmer December compared to November since 1993. So quite a remarkable month actually shaping up, but it's not the sort of remarkable month that you would want if you want it cold and snowy, because the sort of patterns that we're seeing here are completely the opposite to the sort of patterns you need to get cold and snowy conditions. Now, will it change as we get through to January and February? Well, some years we carry this on through the whole of the winter. 1988, the year I was talking about, with the central temperature for December of 7.5, that carried on right way through January and February as well. There's very mild January and February in 1989. Conversely though, there are years where it does turn much colder as you get through January and February. That happened quite a lot in the 50s. There was two in the 50s, 1953, 1954 and 1954, 1955. Both of those had very mild Decembers and were much colder in the January and the February. So you just never know, we may see things changing, but certainly the westerlies are in now for the rest of the month. That's it for now. Thanks for watching.